Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the bitterly cold and snowy weather that is going to be arriving as we head through this weekend and into the start of next week. Northerly winds are going to be arriving through Saturday into Sunday, and all areas will be in a frigid Arctic air mass come Sunday afternoon, with most areas from Monday to Friday next week not getting much above freezing and seeing the risk of pretty widespread snow. Now, at the moment, we've got multiple areas of interest for snowfall between convective showers, especially for northern areas. Other areas of interest include shortwaves or disturbances that are starting to be picked up within the flow, where we could see convection increased and perhaps even persistent snow in places. Signs through Tuesday and Wednesday we could see a system like that move through Northern Ireland, Northern England, Wales, and maybe into parts of Midlands as well. And then of course we've got the substantial risk of frontal snowfall further southwards, as we do see lower pressure bump into that cold air. That risk, I must say, in the past 24 hours has diminished slightly, as we are seeing the block slightly stronger, which we did expect, and that has meant quite a few more runs are shifting that lower pressure system further southwards. Some are still having it clip southern England, with seeing snow up towards the London area, for example, but the trends are for it to push southwards. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next 24 hours if we did see it clear the south completely. Now, it would have two effects. Yes, we probably would see less frontal snowfall, or we wouldn't see any frontal snowfall at all, but we would be in even colder air, and then we bring the risk of those disturbances further northwards heading southwards as well. So it doesn't mean that there will be no snow, it just means perhaps not going to play out exactly as some of the models have over the past couple of days. But we'll check out the latest UKV, then we'll go through the medium range runs, look at the GFS, GM, East and WF, and then have a look at the ensembles as well. In the next day or two, we will probably transition more to the shorter range, high resolution runs, as most of those go out to day 5, which only gets us to about Monday or Tuesday. And as I said, the main interest for widespread snow comes in around Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time. So probably by tomorrow, we'll be having a look at a lot more high resolution models. So make sure to check out the video tomorrow, as it'll be very interesting to see what the high res has for snow at this stage. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, which you like and subscribe. Remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. And if you start on the live radar, you can see it is a pretty dry signal at the moment, as we have got a big area of high pressure pushing in. Some thicker cloud drifting in off the North Sea, and a few odd showers here or there. But for most, it is chilly. I wouldn't say too cold though, as we have got generally milder upper air temperatures moving in. As I said, temperatures chilly, still below average, and there could be a few isolated frosts, but with thicker cloud and those warmer upper air temperatures, it will probably hold those temperatures in the low single digits through this evening and overnight. It is going to be a similar picture for tomorrow, again, because it is chilly in places, especially the further westwards you go. We've got colder conditions there, clearer skies, and then across Scotland, clearer skies as well, seeing chilly or cold conditions develop there. So that is going to be the signal for the next day or two, but as we head into Saturday, the northerly winds are going to be unleashed. Initially, of course, impacting Scotland, and then slowly moving southwards and impacting all areas by Sunday afternoon. So if you do have a look at the latest UKV, we can have a look at the precipitation all the way out until Tuesday morning, which actually does start to just hint on the first significant snow that we could see for northern areas, as we do see a disturbance move through the flow. Now, over the next sort of 24 to 48 hours, as I said, it's going to be pretty cloudy but reasonably dry. But as you can see, through Friday evening into Saturday, northerly winds start to arrive. Initially, rain for Scotland. That's because we are transitioning from generally mild upper air temperatures to slightly colder upper air temperatures before the real cold conditions arrive through Saturday and Sunday. See that weather front moves through, and then the really cold air starts to arrive. More of those showers moving in, starting to turn to snow, and then widely turning to snow through Sunday afternoon, and the coldest air does get further southwards. Initially, of course, it is a drier pattern, but as the lower pressure sinks southwards, we will see more showers develop, all falling as snow. That is one thing that we don't need to worry about in the next few days, unless we saw a frontal system push up from the south. That's the only exception. But apart from that, pretty much all precipitation will be falling as snow in the next week, because the air mass is so cold, falling in peak winter times. So you can see heavy snow continues to push in through the north for many areas through Sunday and Monday, mostly for North Wales, North East England, much of Scotland and Northern Ireland. But then watch what happens as we head through Monday into Tuesday. Those showers continue, but we see a disturbance develop within the flow. It does hold off those showers a little bit, as it does stop that northerly wind or direct northerly wind for a time. But what it does do is develop an area of more significant precipitation, and as it falls over land, turns to heavy snow. Here, developing for parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, into northern England, but this could equally push much further southwards. We will just have to see what the models do. Still 4 or 5 days away, which is a really sort of low confidence time frame for a disturbance of this size. And then as we progress into Tuesday, mainly through the day, we see more areas of disturbances come within the flow. And again, these could push further southwards as well. You can see, though, there is a little wedge of milder air within it. The one thing we've got to watch out for is slightly higher dew points mixing in. Again, we'll have to keep an eye on that. That is something that could just mix in, maybe bring some rain to low-lying areas for a time, or freezing rain perhaps, as the surface temperatures will be close to freezing by that point. But we will just have to see what happens with that. But you can see the overall pattern is for bitterly cold air to be in control. Just perhaps a slight wedge of milder air then. They're uncertain exactly how much mild air there will be. Again, that will decide on the side of the disturbance and its track. If it pushes slightly further southwards and westwards, more cold air will get wrapped within it. But if it does push further northwards and eastwards, it could allow more of a milder slot to move in. So do have a look at the 2 metre max temperatures. You can see this afternoon 5 to 7 degrees, so still chilly, but not particularly cold compared to the last few days at least. Overnight frosts in northern and western areas, and then as we head into tomorrow, again 5 to 7 degrees. But as we head into Saturday, the cold northerly winds start to arrive, and by Saturday afternoon, southern areas 5, 6, 7 degrees, but Scotland starting to cool down significantly, and the very cold air arrives for Sunday. Maybe again 5 or 6 degrees for the far south, but the upper air temperatures are dropping rapidly. Northern England, Scotland now below freezing. All areas pretty frigid overnight into Monday as the bitterly cold air does establish itself, and by Monday afternoon, an ice day for many, especially further northwards and eastwards. Look at that across much of England, 0 or 1 degree. That again will mean if snow falls, it will readily settle, and there would be significant accumulations if we see more than a couple of hours of snow. Through Monday evening, freezing cold overnight, widely -3 to -6 degrees. And then as we head into Tuesday, again, looking like another very cold day. But again, there's that wedge of milder air. And again, a lot of uncertainty with what happens with that. Again, another thing that we are going to have to keep an eye on. As I said, the disturbances have got very low confidence at this time frame. So it could all change. We will just have to wait and see. So now if we do go over to the medium to longer range forecast, have a look at what the latest GFS is showing. We'll run through the pressure charts, look at the upper air temperatures, and then we'll finish, of course, having a look at the precipitation charts. Again, I keep saying this in the past few videos, when we have a look at the medium to longer range models, don't take any single run too literally, especially the precipitation charts and the longer range, especially beyond day 7. As we have immense uncertainty at this stage. And I will highlight that, especially with the past 2 ECMWF runs, where we are seeing massive discrepancies at day 10, just highlighting the uncertainty we have at the moment. But if you look at the GFS, you can see the high pressure is retrogressing now up towards Greenland, and within the next 2 or 3 days, northerly winds will be arriving for all. Bitterly cold air will be running down the country, and you can see by Monday we are all in a frigid northerly wind. You can see as we head through Tuesday and Wednesday, we see this small little disturbance develop in the flow, and that could give an area of heavier snowfall parts of North England, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. Again, have to keep a close eye on that. And then through Wednesday and Thursday, we see that secondary low further southwards, riding southern England, and again could give a period of heavy snow across the south. It's much further southwards than it has been over the past couple of days, especially from this GFS run. So we will just have to see where that does go from there. In the days following that, we still see areas of low pressure spiral, but suddenly it goes from cold, snowy and blocked within a day or two to a westerly flow. Now again, we're getting towards day 8, day 9, day 10 here. Don't take any of these charts too literally, because the longer range is choppy and changing substantially. As I said, the best comparison is on the ECMWF, which I will show you in a few minutes. But if we just run through the longer range, you can see it does stay unsettled and westerly. That is not what the longer range guidance is showing, so I highly doubt it plays out like this, and we'll have to see exactly what the models will do. But the fact that they are really struggling with the low pressure system next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time, I doubt they have a clue what's happening as we head into the following weekend. Now, if you look at the upper air temperatures, you can see bitterly cold air is moving in, and by early hours of Monday, we are all in this absolutely frigid northerly wind. Beyond that, again, cold air holds, and we do see this slight wedge of slightly milder air move in. By Tuesday, it's a lot bigger here from this latest GFS because of the size of the disturbance. But in the subsequent days, we all go back into the colder air for that low pressure right away, and then we do go westerly. Definitely more milder air mixing in here from the GFS, but nonetheless, it's still a very similar pattern. Milder air will, of course, mean heavier snow, as we'll see in a minute, but then, of course, it does bring the risk of a bit of rain as we head into the middle of the week. So you look at the latest GFS precipitation charts. You can see as we head into the early parts of the week through Sunday, towards the latter part of this weekend, through Sunday evenings, the snow showers arrive. Then as we head into the early parts of the week, we continue to see snow showers further northwards, and then we see that disturbance bringing perhaps some heavier snow for northern England, and then you can see that moves through, maybe some more snow across England and Wales there, as the low pressure system bumps into the cold air, and then more general disturbances before the westerly flow does unlock. Again, this GFS run is definitely on the very tame end from what we're seeing at the moment. The majority of runs are a little bit colder and a little bit more wintry. But of course, we've got a spread, and this is as I said, a more tame option at this stage. Still producing quite a bit of snow, still producing at least 3 to 5 days of bitterly cold conditions, just not quite got the longevity or the intensity of wintriness that some other runs are showing, like the GEM this evening. So if we do show the GEM, the high pressure is moving up towards Greenland, very similar to the GFS. Actually, do you want to have a look at the 12-hour intervals? Northerly winds arrive by Sunday evening for all, and it goes very cold and wintry. We see that disturbance through Scotland, a little bit of a larger system there. If you look at the upper air temperatures, you can see that wedge of milder air, but it does clear very quickly. We all go back into the colder air, the low rides southern England, and we see some heavy snow in its northern edge. And then as we head towards day 7, we stay in the cold air all the way to the weekend. More lows right to the south, bringing the risk of even more snow for eventually by the weekend, or the end of the weekend, we see westerly winds starting to re-emerge, but a southerly tracking jet, so it actually still stays reasonably cool and probably wintry in Scotland, but for most, temperatures will be back above freezing, back into the mid-single digits probably. So GM, not out of the world in terms of wintriness, not out of the world in terms of cold, but definitely quite a bit more intense than the GFS was showing. And if we do have a look at the upper air temperature, the precipitation charts here, you can see through Sunday, wintriness starts to arrive as we head through Monday afternoon into Tuesday. We see that disturbance across Scotland giving heavy snow in places. Again, could drift further south depending on its exact positioning, and then we see the snow move in for southern areas, giving some quite substantial snow across much of England and Wales there for a number of hours through early hours of Wednesday, with snow continuing further northwards, and we see further disturbances mixing with the flow of more heavy snow for northern areas, for all starts to slowly clear towards the latter part of the week, but more and more snow as that moisture gets thrown towards the UK. So the GM is ridiculously wintry here. Widely 5 to 10 centimetres of snow would be seen. It does break it down by sort of Saturday, Sunday times, a bit later than the GFS, but you can see eventually, as I said, milder air moves in. But for the time, for the days leading up to that, we could see multiple significant snow events, 2, 3, 4, 5 major areas of snow moving in with it, which is pretty ridiculous indeed. Again, GM definitely on the more intense end, at least for wintriness. I've seen other runs more intense for cold, like the UK Met Office run this evening, which is cold and blocked all the way to the end of its run, and even the Eastern WF from this morning, very cold and blocked toward the end of its run, but not as wintry as this GM. Now, if you compare to the ECMWF, again, we do see high pressure up towards Greenland. We do see the northerly winds starting to arrive. Again, very cold and then turning very wintry in the subsequent days. Disturbances move through. The low pressure slides to our south and it stays cold and wintry for the following weekend, where it does go westerly again. But as I said, the ECMWF is having huge discrepancies. This is the midday run. Look at that, flat westerly in 10 days' time. we have a look at the midnight run. Look at that. Blocking still present in the North Atlantic, not as strong, so we're not forcing a massive northerly wind, but we're still in very cold air with lots of low pressure around. So it'd stay cold and wintry. And this is at day 10, right at the end of the extended, right at the end of this ECMWF run. So you can see the huge differences between the midnight run and the midday run, meaning we've got no idea what's going to be happening beyond next Wednesday, Thursday time. We can't, as I said, forecast the low pressure systems and the snow. Tuesday, Wednesday time, we have no chance of forecasting what's going to be happening in the days following that. But as ever, we've got a very cold wedge of air moving in. It always does delay the Atlantic coming back in. So I would always go on the colder side when looking at the longer range. Definitely with the cold hanging on longer than initially anticipated. So we will just have to see, of course, for that longer range, but that is still days away from being resolved. If you look at the precipitation charts for this ECMWF run, again, wintry showers arriving by Sunday into Monday, widespread heavy snow for northern areas, and even drifting down the east coast potentially, depending on the exact wind direction. Beyond that, we do see disturbances move in, actually 2 small disturbances there, northern England, and then another one for Scotland through Tuesday into Wednesday, and then we potentially could see some heavy snow skirt the south coast, but quite a bit more offshore than both the GEM and the GFS was. And then we see another disturbance run through parts of Republic of Ireland, Wales, and England there through Thursday into Friday before it eventually all clears with a transient snow event into the weekend. Now, if you finish, we'll have a look at the latest ensembles. These are the latest GFS. You can see it is turning bitterly cold, almost a 15-degree upper air temperature drop come Saturday through to Sunday. It is bitterly cold for a number of days next week and looking likely to last all the way out to about the 20th. So we're looking at least next weekend. Some runs, as said, like the GFS, go milder in the longer range, but you can see the majority actually keep us quite a bit colder in that medium range. And of course, you can see precipitation spikes appearing again, bringing the risk of heavy snow. At this stage, within the ensembles, these precipitation spikes we are seeing are mostly frontal snow. So these precipitation spikes are proper low pressure systems moving in. Disturbances, little ebbs in the flow that can come up in very short range will not even be predicted by these more low resolution runs at this stage. So if you are like, well, it's turning cold, but the snow risk has perhaps subsided a little bit because those frontal systems look a bit further southwards, then I wouldn't worry too much if you're looking for snow, because there will be a number of disturbances around that we will not probably pick up on for another couple of days, or at least we'll have, or we won't at least have a very good idea of where they're going on the next few days. As I said, those little disturbances we're seeing through Scotland, Northern Ireland, perhaps Northern England through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those have only cropped up in the last 24 hours or so, and I'm sure more will crop up in the coming days. Remember, heavy snow we saw in the southeast in early December 2022, that wasn't from a massive frontal system. We saw 10, 15 centimetres of snow in places, and that was a small disturbance that appeared at the 2 or 3 day time frame. So it is something just to keep a note. TV's temperatures look bitterly cold next week. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days consecutively there, but the temperatures don't look like they're going to get much above a 1 or 2 degrees, and that's pretty conservative. Could actually be hardly getting above freezing on some of the days, especially where we have snow falling and where we have snow on the ground. It will feel bitter out there. The dew points are frigid as well, and that's why there is pretty high confidence that the majority of stuff falling out of the sky will be falling as snow. Of course, there is the risk with that disturbance through Tuesday and Wednesday that we saw from the GFS especially, that there could be that wedge of milder air that moves in that could allow the dew points to rise slightly, but we will just have to see exactly how that does develop. The UKV showed it as well. Again, still big uncertainty, but you can see the majority keep us well below freezing dew points for at least 5 or 6 days there. And if we finish by looking at the ECMWF ensembles, the midday run hasn't come out yet, but we can look at the midnight run, and you see the majority are actually on board with what the midnight run showed, which is for cold conditions to prevail for the next week to 10 days at least. Still got that bump as we head through Tuesday, Wednesday time. That is where we see the risk of heavy snow in the south, but further northwards, as I'll show you in a minute, it is looking absolutely frigid, and it is looking extremely snowy. So if we do actually go further northwards and just go to Glasgow, for example, just up in Scotland, again, most areas of Scotland will be very similar to this. Eastern BF, absolutely frigid for the foreseeable future. The GFS, even colder than that. So look at that, widely down towards the -10 region, all the way out to the next 10 days. And we are looking at lots of snow. So if you are in the north, you are going to be seeing some substantial snowfall, especially across Scotland, Northern Ireland, and perhaps even Northern England with those disturbances moving in. The south, it is almost a 50-50 at this stage. There will be snow around, there will be disturbances, but whether it's a dusting or whether it's 20 centimetres, that's impossible to say. But it is looking highly likely that areas of Scotland, like Glasgow, the higher ground especially, could see an absolute dump as we head into next week, not only from heavy convective showers, but from frontal or convective systems disturbances as well. So we will just have to see exactly how it does play out, but that snowfall risk is becoming more and more apparent. We will have a much better idea over the coming days. Already starting to get a better idea as the pressure patterns do resolve, but in the next day or two we'll have a more detailed look at those precipitation charts with those shorter range, high resolution runs, which should have a much better idea, especially on the very specific stuff like the dew points, like the area and size, intensity of disturbances. So that is something we'll concentrate on. So do make sure you check out the videos over the next few days as we start to delve into more and more detail as this northerly wind gets closer and closer. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.